I just can't take no pleasure in killing. Just some things you gotta do. Don't mean you have to like.
I like to dissect girls. Did you know I'm utterly insane?
You want to know what happens to an eyeball when it gets punctured? You got any idea how much blood jets out of a guy's neck when his throat's been slit?
Whatever you do, don't fall asleep.
What's up, everyone? DJ Noob is here with you on the Military Radio Podcast with my co-host and good friend, Mr. Tony the Dead. We are the Ghouls of Midnight, but we have a couple special guests. Down below me, Anthony Jordan from Anthony Jordan Movies and Gaming, as well as Sci-Fi Sentry, and I can't point worth a damn on here, but on the Sci-Fi Society, our fearless leader there, joining us for a review of 2005's The Exorcism of Emily Rose. If you're not familiar, this show, Mr. Tony and I alternate picks of movies that we're going to review, sit down with, and this time it's my pick. So Interestingly enough, this film cost $19 million to make, but actually scored a grossing $145 million. That's amazing for this film. Yeah. So basically, The Exorcism of Emily Rose is a 2005 American supernatural horror legal drama film directed by Scott Derrickson, who, coincidentally enough, also did stuff like Sinister, Doctor Strange, The Gorge, which just came out. I haven't seen it, but I heard people talking about it. So he's got a nice little resume there of films that he's worked on. The film also stars Laura Linney as Erin Christine Bruner, Tom Wilkinson as Father Richard Moore, Jennifer Carpenter as Emily Rose, Campbell Scott as Ethan Thomas. So as we usually do on here, we're going to kind of go around the room a little bit just to see your first thoughts on the film and when you first saw it. So let's start with my co-host, Tony. When was the first time you'd seen this film, and what did you really think about it?
I probably first saw it when it first came out back in the day, because the whole exorcism movies were a craze. So I definitely saw this probably because of the main actress who played Emily, because of Dexter.
Yeah.
But I don't rewatching it. I forgot about like almost everything. I just remember her scream, because she has like, even in Dexter, she was kind of a bitch, but like in this, she's just innocent and like it's like one extreme to another. It was
she's got
pretty nice to relive it. Yeah, she's got pipes, man. Crazy.
Anthony.
The first time was when we watched it the other night. This film kind of my living situation at the time when it came out. I wasn't allowed to spend my money on what I wanted. I only had strict things I could spend it on. So even if I wanted to go see this, I couldn't, and it just kind of flew under the radar for all these years.
Mm-hmm. Sentry.
I saw it back on, I think it was HBO back in 2006, and I heard a lot about it from other friends that went to see it in theaters, and they're like, dude, you gotta watch this, man. Like, it was so like freaky. It's like, we know you're kind of numb to freaking stuff like that, but I was like, well, okay, if it comes out, I'll see it. So I saw it, and damn, dude, I was like, that's the kind of stuff that I like to watch. That's the shit that I get into. It's kind of, I can't say it's too obscure. I mean, there's a lot of exorcism movies, but it's like I just was really like fascinated by it, and I watched it again and again, and then I had not watched it for a good like almost 10 years. So I revisited it yesterday, and yeah, man, I was like, oh, I like Tony of the Dead. I was like, wow, I forgot about that. Mm-hmm. Anna Brial. I was like, ooh. I was like, that's the kind of like, that's that freaking, that's that shit that I like, man. And I'm like, okay, cool, but they say it had jump scares, but it was not for me. But I saw it back then, dude, but I was just, that's my cup of tea, man. That's my cup of tea.
All right. Well, before we dive too far into our review, for those that have not seen it, I'm going to go ahead and play the trailer for them just to give you an idea of what we're going to be talking about. And so here we go with the trailer for The Exorcism of Emily Rose.
I don't care about my reputation. What I care about is telling Emily Rose's story.
Holy Church venerates thee as her guardian and protector. To thee, the Lord has entrusted the souls of the redeemed to be led into heaven. Pray therefore the God of peace to crush Satan beneath our feet, that we no more will return men's captivity.
Do you understand how long they can put you away for this?
I want people to hear what only I can tell.
And what is that?
What really happened to Emily and why.
So she believed that her actual possession began that night at the hospital?
I think she did.
Emily had epilepsy. Father Moore's beliefs are based on superstition.
Did Father Moore ask you to give her any medical help?
I couldn't help her.
Why couldn't you help her?
Because there are no injections against the devil.
Emily? Hey, can you hear me?
Demons exist, whether you believe in them or not. Just be careful, Aaron. There are forces surrounding this trial. Emily, can you hear me? It has begun.
For the glory of God.
So there you have it.
And that laugh is creepy, going from one side to the other. Jeez.
Yeah. Even without headphones, you can hear that shit. It's like very creepy. And I actually just caught through the trailer, like, this is so crazy. Like that window scene with the rain has a face in it, and I didn't even pick up on it watching the movie. That's crazy. But yeah, so basically we get introduced into this movie where Father Moore, played by Wilkinson here, you know, he was brought in to exorcise Emily Rose. And of course, you saw the doctor in the trailer, and he was brought in as well. He's actually the one that called for Father Moore to come in because he could not help the girl through science. And so it was obviously something more to it. However, through the exorcism, which we don't see right away, it's a lot of flashbacks in this through the film, Emily ends up dying. And now he's on trial for negligence, basically, even though the family themselves are not pressing charges. It's just something the state is doing against him because they hold him responsible for her death. Which brings us to, of course, Laura Linney here, who's playing Aaron Bruner, his lawyer, who's brought in to represent him. And really, she's kind of brought in as almost a lost cause in a way. She just came off a win, but that kind of turns out to be a bad win later on in the film, which is sort of a minor point. But her law firm basically is looking to use her popularity now to try to get this case resolved and solved. But she has her own, you know, like, I want to be partner, yada, yada, just the whole like mind politics and everything else that go with working in that kind of industry. But she's really got kind of behind the eight ball because you've got basically religion versus science and law versus facts and not facts. Like, it's all about belief and non-belief. And that's really because, you know, the archdiocese doesn't want Moore to testify because he might sound like he's fucking nuts. You know, they don't want to do that. But he wants to testify because, as Sentry and I were talking behind the scenes, the priest wants to tell Emily's story because he does have a relationship with her as far as like a priest to a what would you call them, a churchgoer or whatever. She's a follower of God. So yeah, so he has that relationship, so that comes in handy later on down the trial of the role. So obviously we have photos of Emily taken by the coroner and everything that looks like she just went through a fucking meat grinder and like beat up, and you know, some of this is because she was scratching at walls and stuff. But to this guy here, who's the prosecutor, it looks like she was abused, even though, again, the family's not claiming the priest did any of that. The family knows there was something going on too that they don't explain.
Yeah.
And just to show our star witness here, our star person, Emily Rose, of course, Jennifer really knocked this role out of the park, did a fabulous job with it.
Oh, yeah.
So, starting with Anthony, your first thoughts about the opening setup of the movie, what's going on?
I thought it was like really well done. Like you start off after her death and it slowly builds to this trial, so it just immediately builds a lot of intrigue as to what happened here, and it even like it kind of almost puts you, the audience, in the position of the jury, where the movie presents you with the facts, and it's you kind of, as the audience, are also determining, okay, was the priest right in his actions or was he wrong?
Yeah. Sentry.
Yeah. It's good. It's got a typical kind of horror background and setting with the house, and I mean, man, I saw that house like, wow, that house is still around. Like I mean, it must have been back, not in the. I don't know if it was in the present day, 2005 or something, but it had the great opening, and then they have a doctor go in there and they calling what happened, and then you have the family who is very distraught, the father, the mother, and the priest is like, it's a great setup. Like you're thinking, okay, what happened, what just happened, and they don't show nothing. They don't show Emily, they don't show her at all, and they give you the story like kind of like in a backwards kind of format, where the story is gradually shown what happened throughout the film, but the beginning of it it's a great setup. And I'll just say this, on my behalf, it's not that I'm not about horror movies. Me and I talked to this about, with Anubis. I'm very into the obscure, like, type of, I guess, paranormal type of films that really get me, like, ooh, like that's the shit that I like. I mean, I'm not saying that the originals, like the not saying the classics like Freddy Krueger, Halloween, Friday the 13th, The Omen, Army of Darkness, like all of those are great. But like I guess I'm just more into the obscure. But I'll just say that on my
Do
head.
you
But great opening.
do you like just generally like thought provoking horror? Is that how you look at it?
Yeah, because I like how Anthony put it in the beginning. Like you have the law side of it, trying to talk about facts, and you have the religious side of it that just wants to tell her story. Yet they want it to be like, okay, this is what happened, whether you believe it or you don't. Is it possible? Maybe. Was it as far as evidence? It's very hard to dissect that.
Yeah.
But
Tony.
as far as like,
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry, bro. No, no. I was just gonna say, like, but as far as like, it has to be like other types of movies, Event Horizon, sci-fi horror, and then there's The Omen, which is good. The Prophecy with Christopher Walken, and the Poltergeist, the first one.
Mhm.
Like that's the kind of that's. I guess I'm just more too obscure, but sorry about that. Sorry, Tony.
Oh, you're good.
That's fine. For me, the beginning, yeah, I didn't really kind of think of it that way, like about you're the jury, but yeah, I could definitely see that. But like, I do like how watching this movie, it does show like what they're saying, and then the scientific side of it, like, oh, she's psychosis or she's doing. So it's like actually like, making you think about it. And I'm fine with that in a movie. I like guessing. Yeah, the beginning, I forgot she was already dead, but
yeah,
it's like, spoiler, she's dead, but this is her story, and it's pretty interesting beginning. Laura Linney, she's always gorgeous as usual, and
yeah, I
it's
would
very
recommend
interesting.
if you ever seen the movie Primal Fear with Richard Gere, she's in that as actually a prosecutor in that one, and between her and Edward Norton, that courtroom scene. Whew.
Oh yeah,
that's good stuff. Good cinema, baby, as I like to call it.
Yeah.
So obviously Father Moore pleads not guilty to the death of Emily because he does believe that she was possessed. And of course, Ethan Thomas, who is played by Campbell Scott, is the prosecutor who's trying to prove that he is guilty of negligence because they don't really believe in possession or exorcisms and stuff like that. They believe that she was epileptic or had some other psychosis that led to her being outrageous and acting out. So that's really the battle that's going on in the courtroom. So we do get these flashbacks, though, where Emily is getting accepted to college. She looks like a happy young lady. Her parents are excited and proud. I can't remember if she met her boyfriend at college or if she already had him. I'm pretty sure she met him at college. But
I think he was there, which is funny because he's Jason and he was the guy in Diary of the Dead with the camera.
Yeah.
And his name is Jason in this one as well.
Right. So, so she goes off to college, obviously, and she has like some siblings and stuff. So they're all happy and they're excited. But as she's there, there's this moment where the clock strikes 3 a.m., which they call the devil's hour. And she gets up and she kind of hears like some banging or something out in the hallway. And she opens it up and there's nothing out there, but you kind of see from the camera view something that slides into the bedroom. And then at that point, we get a moment where she's sort of being attacked by something that's invisible and can't be seen. And that really kind of starts our roller coaster with her in terms of like it's slowly starting to possess her and she's starting to see things and act out. And even one of the more crazier scenes is the one that was sort of in the trailer where she's on the ground contorted and he wakes up in the middle of the night and she's not next to him in the bed, but he gets up and she's on the floor. And it's just a really scary looking scene. Like I would love to ask Carpenter how she did that shit because she really looked uncomfortable in that position to be able to do that. But yeah, so you know she's going through all these different things. So I mean, Tony, as far as like the unraveling of her possession and like some of the other stuff going on, well, we won't worry about the court stuff yet, but just about her getting possessed, how did you feel about that whole unraveling of that?
Oh man, that scene was scary as hell. I mean, the way the bed's going down and like she can't breathe and like it's like how are they doing that? Like it looks real, you know what I mean? And it was scary to watch. It's like what's going to happen? And she was trying to fight back, and it's like she can't, and then just boom, her arms go down, and then finally just lets go, and she screams, and then to wake up the boyfriend, to wake up and see that, and then she's staring into it. It's like that. I was like, oh my God, that was creepy as hell, man. Like it was brutal. And so
she just has like that kind of like that moment where she's like, her mouth opens, just like, and like, I'd be like, I gotta go.
Yeah, I got class in the morning.
I love you, babe, but I gotta go. You just working out. There. I'm out of here.
This ain't working out. I don't even know how to get into that position. It's not gonna work for me. You look like you're fighting your own demons. Let me get
right.
Oh man, yeah,
Sentry.
Crazy.
Yeah, just to remind that, jump on what Tony was saying. Like homegirl's doing her yoga. She's doing her yoga exercise and it looks painful. But no, it's you're talking as far as the scene. What happened when she gets possessed?
Well, just all of that, like her discovering the noises outside the dorm, and then
going outside the dorm, the door slamming and slamming. She goes to close it, but you can tell I could just sense like something slipped in right before she closed it, and then she goes back and lays down, and that's like I was thinking to myself, I forgot about that, and it kind of looked like they were gonna violate her like sexually, but I don't think it's possible because they're spirits, they're the demons. So, but what I did see when they was trying to lift up her shirt, and I was like, oh shit, it's trying to lift up her shirt, and she's trying to hold her shirt down, and she's trying to fight it off, and you just see the pressure. You see the pressure of all of this spirits or what. I think they're spirits. It says they're spirits, so it was more than one. To me, it's probably there was more than one. So that's why she was overpowered. And yeah, man, it was pretty, when I saw it, I was like, oh shit, I forgot about that. and it does have that to me it's more like, oh shit, like, you know, that's, to me it's more like a violation of a woman being violated, but it's just she's being possessed, you know, which is still a violation spiritually, you know.
Yeah,
And
it's
then
very.
the part where she's in the
Oh, go ahead.
no, I said the part where she's in the church, man, and she, like I said, she contorts her body, her back, like you could just hear it like cracking and everything. I was like, oh, I was like, and then she's pointing at the cross, and then she falls down, and she tells her boyfriend, you know, help me, and he goes to her like that. That was the surprising thing about the boyfriend. Like he was there for her since the beginning, and he never gave up. And but it's just, yeah, man, it's powerful. To me it's a powerful visual effects of how a possession would take place, but we all wouldn't know. A lot of us wouldn't know because we see what happens on freaking a movie, but have you ever seen that it happen in real life? But it does give you that sense of, holy shit, that's raw fucking shit. Like that's what I like. I'm like, damn, I was like, fuck, I was getting like, damn, I missed all this shit for 10 years. So I was like, that's the type of stuff that I'm into. But yeah, just, and then the part where she's freaking out over, like the part, well, I want to say this part where she's in a night class and it's cold and you can just see the demonic figure through the window, like, and I was like, oh dude, like that's the like shit, like that's the stuff that was good. And there's a lot of stuff about it. And then the part where she's crying outside and she lets out a scream. And like, yeah, Jennifer Carpenter, shit, dude, she did amazing. She was she played that part to the T, dude, like amazing.
Yeah, Anthony.
Just very good. Like, I like the whole dynamic that, like, we get the scene where she gets possessed, and then it's still slow burns it where it just doesn't go all out, and she's got the bouts of normalcy, and then she's got the bouts when the demon takes hold. And like, some of these scenes, you can make a strong argument this film crosses over into body horror, because like her body is bordering on like contorting into like some unnatural angles, and it's just very unsettling.
Yep. So definitely. And even that bed scene, like, not as quite as graphic, but there was a scene similar in the movie The Entity from 1980 with Barbara Hershey, where she's attacked by a poltergeist and even raped by a poltergeist. So it has that kind of vibe where it's attacking her. You talked about her shirt going up a little bit, like it was trying to like molest her in some weird way. But it didn't get overly graphic, which is good because you don't really need it in this film. It didn't need to be a lot of gore or nothing like that. So you could have kept it just, you can understand what's happening without it. But yeah, back to the court drama. As they keep going through the stories, one of the things that Father Moore kept saying was that he thought that one of the reasons why he wasn't unable to exorcise the demon was because the medication she was on was like keeping her conscience at bay while the demon was able to overrun the body. And so he couldn't quite get her to come back and get that out of her system. Then we also have like a moment where the doctor from the beginning is deciding to come forward. He wants to help Father Moore and say, hey, he's right. You know, I could not help this girl. This was something else beyond medical science. And that makes, of course, Bruner very happy because that will help her case. Obviously, as time goes on, he starts to back out. He doesn't show up for court. And now, all of a sudden, she has a scramble to try to figure out where he is. And then we get this scene where, obviously, Father Moore, towards the beginning of the film, was like, be wary that you're taking on this case because there's dark forces working against you. It will try to stop you from doing this. And when she finally does catch up with the doctor, which I think is Graham Cartwright, I believe. I think that's the dude.
Yeah.
So I double check. Yeah, I think so. It's I'm not sure, but the one from the beginning, she finally catches up to him, and he's like befuddled, and he's like disoriented. He's just not very happy. Like he's been seeing things that he's probably not going to tell anybody. But we do have this scene where they're outside and he's talking with Bruno, and then he sees something that she doesn't see. And at that point, he starts to back away, and he ends up walking right in front of a vehicle and gets killed in a hit and run. Well, not hit and run, but just ran over by a vehicle.
And this point, he also changed his mind and was now refusing to testify.
Right, because whatever it is scaring the shit out of him. He doesn't want any part of it. Which should be noted, too, because a little bit earlier, Bruna herself has been experiencing weird circumstances in her house at night. So she'll be sleeping. Come 3 a.m., she'll hear noises and she'll start looking around. One thing I thought was very cool, and I saw like a guy do a review on this, and he made a good point about how Derrickson shot the film. So sometimes when you watch a horror film and you see the actors in the dark, they usually put like a light on them so you can kind of see their facial expressions and what they're doing. One thing that he pointed out that I agree with is that Derrickson didn't do that. He allowed the darkness to envelop his actors, so you can't really see them except for if they turn a certain way towards any kind of light. So it's well shot. It's like realistic, very realistic in terms of her being in her house at night. It's like not well lit, and she can walk around, but it's just dark. It's very spooky, atmospheric. And yeah, go ahead, Anthony. I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
Didn't we also, at this point, pass the part where she found out that case she won and the guy she got off went on to murder someone?
Yeah, that's where it came back to bite her in the ass. So she got this big celebration from her law firm. You know, you won your case. You know, I forget the name of the guy's case, but he turned out to be a dirty bastard and still killed some people. And now she's got to live with that guilt because she's the one that got him off. Which, you know, it almost reminds you of like Devil's Advocate type shit. You know, have you ever seen that movie with Al Pacino?
It kind of puts me in mind of, and I'm just bringing it up because it's got a point that can come around to this case, but the game Judgment, which where you play as a private detective who was a former attorney. He got a guy off for murder in Japan, which is big because their conviction rate is insane. And the guy went on to supposedly kill his girlfriend, so the main character becomes a detective because he's more interested in finding out the truth. But there's a point where his former boss is talking to him, and this is where it applies to the scenario here, and he tells him, as a defense attorney, your job isn't to find the truth. Your job is only to prove that the prosecution does not have enough evidence to convict.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, and I wanted to add also, since the doctor had already, he talked with the lawyer. I forgot her name. Laura Linney's character. Laura Linney's character. Yeah. What was her name?
Aaron Bruner.
Okay, Aaron. Okay, yeah. And remember, the doctor gave her more evidence in giving her a tape recorder.
Yep.
And the tape recorder, I don't know if we're jumping more to the conclusion, but I don't know if we're jumping too fast, but I just wanted to mention the tape recorder. And she goes and talks to him and tells, the doctor, that's when the doctor, before, you know, just going back, the doctor contacted, I think it was, Aaron, and said, you know what, I know Father Moore, and, you know, I was a doctor that was there for the exorcism. And then she goes to Dr. Moore and says, how come you didn't tell me about this? Like, why didn't you tell me that there was other people who were witnesses in during the exorcism? And he tells her, well, you know, I didn't. He knew that he saw that shit, and he didn't know if he was gonna actually want to either testify or add more evidence to it. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
No, and it's a good point because, again, a lot of this whole thing with the court and the jury, you know, everyone involved, like outside of the family and, of course, the priest and all that, is that this whole court case is based upon belief or facts, or at least what they consider facts. So if, you know, obviously if you're super religious, you're like, I'm going to believe the priest because I believe in good and evil. But if you're someone who, like me, might be doubtful about the afterlife, you might say, well, I'd rather see what's in front of me in terms of physical evidence. Like if I think it's a possibility that this girl was just insane or had a mental breakdown, I could assume that could be a real possibility. But and that's the thing, because especially when, I don't want to take it too far off topic, but in today's society, we don't treat mental illness as well as we should. So sometimes we have people that do things out in public right now that they could be just bad people, or they could really just be mentally unstable, and we just don't know because we don't have any facilities anymore to really treat that. So in this case, this is like done like what, 2005, so almost 20 years ago. So, and I'm not sure about the original case. You remember when the original case happened, Sentry? Because you said you were looking it up. It had to do with a girl named
her name was Anne. Her name was Anne Elizabeth, but she was from Germany, so her name was Annelise. Annelise
Michel, yeah.
Annelise Michel or Michel.
It could be Michelle.
Yeah, it was in the 70s.
Yeah,
it was in the 70s. Yeah, it was in the 70s where all this took place.
I didn't even know they probably had better shit back then as far as psychiatric help. But yeah, so it was based off a real thing, even though it might be kind of loosely done on the movie. But certainly just the way this whole thing plays out, it's really the toughest thing I've seen in terms of like a topic for a courtroom to address, because it really is. We talk about it all the time how you have to separate church and state, but in this case you can't do that because that's all this priest has is his faith.
Yeah.
And so it's really an interesting dichotomy about it, because it's just crazy. So yeah, for Tony, what were your thoughts on some of this?
Oh, yeah, it kept me, I'm like you, I'm not a believer or anything, but I like when it makes me question things. Not that I was really questioning, but like a what if, or like when she, not to get far ahead, but when she like came out of her body and she heard the Mary Mother, talking to her and stuff, and she had a choice where to go or stay.
What the fuck?
Yeah, I don't know.
Sorry.
I have no idea what this is, but it's pretty funny.
Sorry, man. Sorry, Tony. I just saw that. I just saw that comment. Like, what?
No, it's not you. Yeah, whether she wanted to come back or not, and she decided to stay. And then they also have we forgot to mention, she got the tape recorder from that doctor, and that has the recording on it and stuff. And now knowing that this is in the 70s, it's like it was really in the 70s, not like now. It's like, I don't know. Everybody's kind of, things could be faked back then, and even though they say it's not, but I don't know. I guess I'd have to be there to see it. If I was witnessing
you make a good point, because of, remember the whole like Amityville horror thing. For a long time, we all believed that shit was real. Maybe it was, but at the same time, there's a lot of doubt in there too.
Yeah.
But the other thing was, I thought the most fascinating thing about the tape for me was, if I heard that shit, and especially the way it was, I'd be freaked out. But I do like that the prosecutor was basically challenging, saying, well, is it possible for a human to use both parts of their vocal cords while doing shit?
Yeah.
And they said it is. And so like that's a very interesting thing, where if you're challenging what the faith is telling you or what the tape is telling you, then that's pretty cool. Like I thought that was a pretty good argument.
Yep.
So that, speaking as someone who is of faith and has seen some things, I still look at this from the standpoint of a priest or a preacher or whatever. Just that doesn't excuse anything they may. Their faith should not be a shield for anything they do. They should still be held to the same accountability as any other professional. And just because like we may share a faith, if you acted questionably, then you may or may not have to face the legal consequences for that.
Yeah. Like like I'll say also that I am a man of faith. I mean, I don't want to say that I don't want to be a hypocrite and say that I'm all about it. No, because I've always believed in my religion, but I've always been like also a realist, and I've always been about what could happen. But yeah, I'm a man of faith, and I truly believe. Like I said, like, Anubis knows. I just said, what do you call it? I just did the All Father prayer before we started. It was, but yeah, it's just I'm a Catholic, and I kind of did connect to what the priest was saying, because as far as his Catholic, and he's a Catholic priest. So, but yeah, it's as far as the court, like it's either you wanna believe, can this possibly have happened? They're trying to make it the Erin's side of her, their team are trying to say, well, you know what, now we just lost the doctor, so we lost our biggest card. Yeah. So what are we gonna do? We could show the tape, and we'll get to the tape later, which is the best part of the film. But it's saying like, okay, is it belief? And then there's facts. They thought she was epileptic, but then like Anubis said, Father Moore says, well, you know what? We think it was possession. Then we also think that the medication she was taking was keeping her kind of, I guess, like I said, it's keeping her mind compressed while the demons were taking over and making her do self-harm and having their way with her during the attempted exorcism. And it was made. I don't think it was attempted. They did it, but it just didn't work. So, but that they're going off now they have no true how do you say it, way of really telling more of the story what happened to Emily during the exorcism, because the doctor just got he just got hit by a car. So
I did think that was like a brilliant thing though, to like argue it from he was acting as a professional in his field, and they were just arguing this is the profession of about it being a choice between one professional over the other. And he may have been wrong by this stance, but he didn't act out of malice, and he acted right according to his beliefs.
Yeah, it's got like a little bit of a weird parallel to The Exorcist, because Reagan, when she first starts showing signs of being, crazy or whatever, the doctors are like tripping over themselves trying to figure out what it is. They're poking and prodding, and they're doing all this shit to figure out why she's doing this. But then it takes them a while to get to the priest. But in this case, the doctor says he didn't even worry about a psychologist either. He said, fuck this chick's possessed by something. I got to go somewhere higher than myself. But he still isn't, as Sentry pointed earlier, is some of the people in this group don't want to put themselves out there because they could lose their jobs if they sound like they're fucking nuts. Like if you come out and say, well, I'm a doctor, but she was clearly possessed, they're going to say, you need to take your license away. You can't be doing this.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, again, once the doctor dies, that's a big ace in a hole there. But her boss comes to her and says, well, you can't put him back. You can't put the father back on the stand because we're just going to drop you. We're going to fire you if you do. Mm-hmm. So she's in a bind because she's trying to save her case as well as save her job, but she has no other recourse. And so Moore is like, just let me finish telling her story. And, he's got the letter from Emily, which I do kind of wish they would have given us a flashback moment of where she was kind of like all together and able to write that.
Yeah.
Because you don't really see it, but you get it towards the end.
I was thinking of that actually today, like how the demons let her write it. You wouldn't really be like, shit would happen to her, so she couldn't write it, because they wouldn't even let her eat or drink anything either. Like, that's one thing we forgot to say. She's not eating either. But yeah, I would like to have seen her write that letter too.
And let's bring up something else that happened like prior to all this too. Like her boss pretty much like, if you bring him on the stand again, you're fired, then he throws the guy she got off murdering people at her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I was gonna say,
yeah.
I was gonna say, like, and as far as the exorcism, I just want to, if it's cool, I want to talk about the exorcism, and parts about it where I don't know, it doesn't say when I was looking it up, but I don't know if they're talking. If I don't know when Father Moore started, he started trying to find out what this demon was, or who this demon was. And the freaky thing was that the demon started talking. I don't know if it was Italian or Latin, and maybe it was Latin. And that's where you're like, okay, now to me, that's where the shit's getting, ooh, like that's interesting to me, because now they're going back to Latin, which is one of the oldest forms of language in human history. So when he starts doing that, and it's funny, when she stays stiff in that position where she fell, and they have to literally put her on the bed. And then one part I will mention just about the exorcism was, she mentioned when Father Moore again asked, who are you, and she keeps saying 1 2 3 4 5 6 and 6 5 4 3 2 1, and then she starts, and then the father keeps nagging, who are you, and then they finally say it. She finally says it, and one of them says, when she's possessed, says, we once, and I think it's in Latin, he says, we once dwelt within Cain, from Cain and Abel. And then he said, we once dealt with Nero, which was one of the Caesars, for one of the last Roman emperors. And then they also said that we also dwelt within Judas. And then that's when she says, we also dwelt within Legion. And then she says, and that's when she says, Anablial, which is I am Belial. And Belial in Hebrew means worthless. And also, I mean, you guys know you play the video games. I'm pretty sure Anthony knows, if you play Darksiders, that Belial is also another reference to Satan. And then she also says that, I am Lucifer in the flesh. So that's where I'm like, ooh, and the way she says it, she says, Anabial. I'm like, oh fuck. I was like, shit. That's the shit that I'm into. But I just wanted to throw that out there and mention it. She referenced Cain because Cain killed his brother. She referenced Nero, Caesar, because they said he was one of the most brutal Caesars, and he was very he didn't like Jews. And then there was Judas. We all know Judas. And then we all Legion. Legion is something that happened back in then when animals were frightened by something, a bunch of pigs, and they fell into the ocean and all drowned. It
was the possessed Gadarene, and Jesus cast the spirits out of him into the pigs, and they ran into the ocean and drowned.
Yeah, there you go. See, you see, and Anthony knows his stuff. And then that's when they mentioned Belial. Belial, and then she mentions that she's Lucifer in the flesh. So sorry, I didn't want to take that much time up, but that's what got me like, ooh, that's when that shit like got real to me. And then she did that loudest yell where they were all closing their ears, and the horses got so freaked out that they broke out of their stalls and just ran. And then we can't forget the cats. We can't forget the cats try to attack Father Moore also.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that.
I'm gonna go ahead
like that.
Like when she mentioned Belial, my mind went right to a certain sentient tumor we've reviewed.
Oh yeah. I was like, oh, now the shit's gonna hit the fan, where she first talks to him and he answers back in the language, and I'm the one. We are the ones who dwell within. I'm the one who, whatever he says. I was like, oh, that's cool. Like she didn't think like not she, but that he knew how to speak it, because they were kind of like, oh,
Well,
like
that's
that.
the interesting thing too, because again, we talked about the tape recorder and how the prosecutor used, his own attack on whether or not that was just vocal play or actually possession. So in this case, again, Latin, she had been studying some Latin in school. So it's like he said, well, isn't it possible she just knew some from college? And he's like, well, yeah,
But
could.
Yeah.
for what little time she was in school, would she have been able to speak it that well?
Right.
That fluently.
I
It was
can't believe
fluent.
that
Yeah,
counter
it was.
argument wasn't made.
Yeah, and again, some plot holes a little bit there with that, but again, they're just trying to show that the prosecutor wasn't going to let him off the hook that easy
And
when it
like,
came to like.
yeah, the prosecutor, like, I understand it's his job, but this guy just comes off as a complete bully.
Oh, he is. Oh, easily. He's a big
Well, he
douche.
did warn her that he was gonna,
Yeah.
if we go to trial, he's gonna push for the maximum. So
Yeah, I think he tried initially to like do a plea bargain, but since Moore didn't want to do it, he's like, well, I'll see you in court.
yep.
One of the things I talked about earlier was the use of lighting with the dark in Bruner's house at night, and how Derrickson was kind of using the darkness and the little bit of light from the side of her face if she turned a certain way or whatever. One of my favorite parts of the film is when we get a glimpse of Emily Rose sort of in like a dreamlike state where she's walking outside her house and it's kind of foggy and white. This time it's not dark, it's white. And she's going near a tree, and this is where she sees like her body there, kind of like all beaten up and bruised, but she's almost in like this more angelic state herself, and she gets to talk to the Virgin Mary, to where the Virgin Mary was basically offering her a chance to like leave that body and go to heaven, and avoid all the pain and the torment that's going on within the body and the demons that are residing there. She chooses to stay, I think, because the idea was she wanted her story to be told. She wants people to know this. I think this shows a great angle of Emily's conviction to faith. Like she wanted to make sure that people heard this and understood it.
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing I thought was interesting, again, this when Tony and I were talking about some of like the note she wrote, we wish we would have seen that. Well, she ends up getting what's called a stigmata, and that's basically these marks on your hands and your feet that represent like the crucifixion of Christ. In the courtroom, obviously the prosecutor's like, well, she grabbed onto like the barbed wire fence at one point, could have been that. I would have liked to seen a doctor be called and say, well, it wouldn't be possible because the marks were specific. Like you can't really do that purposely.
Well, what about her feet too? They didn't say anything about
right
the feet.
on top. Yeah. So, but it's cool that they went that angle too, where she was basically staying behind, but she kind of got marked by God to be a stigmata, I guess. And I don't know, Anthony, how did you feel about some of that dreamlike sequence of the scene?
I liked it, but it felt a little obscure at times. Like, this is probably the one scene where I feel like it could have been handled a little better, but it's still a overall like great scene that it's just bleak and depressing, but yet somehow optimistic at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Tony.
I would have chose to go up, but
yeah.
I mean, like, I guess I get because of her faith and everything, she, this is what God wants, and she's gonna do it. Well, I don't know. I feel like maybe this is the part of the movie that is added on more, maybe,
right,
for theatrics. But yeah, it was a very crazy part. Like, I can't imagine looking down at myself, like that. Like, I think like when you're a ghost in movies and stuff. Like, I would freak the fuck out. I probably would.
Yeah, because obviously you're kind of separated from your body. So when you're inside your body, and you got these things going on, these creatures or whatever they are, demons, like basically taking control of where you have no control of your own body. Like you're at the mercy of whatever they're doing. So when you're on the outside looking at it, you're like, what the fuck are they doing to me, man?
Yeah.
It's like, Jesus Christ.
I know.
Go ahead, Sentry. What did you think about the surreal scene there?
It okay. There's a few things I'll say. It was a somber, more sad part, I guess, to give her more sympathy, and she deserves it in my opinion for the film, what she's going through, and the fact that she sees herself so battered and like weak and like just giving up, looking like she's giving up. But then when the Virgin Mary talks to her and says, I can relieve all your pain, and we can ascend, I can have you ascend to heaven. But what got me, man, and I'm gonna say, like, I kind of connected with it, is that when she said no, she wants to stay because she wants her story to be heard. She wants to, I guess she wanted to, not only can, do it because of her faith, because she's such a, she was so into her faith, and she was a believer in her faith, is that she was willing to go through more torture, more pain, more, just, yeah, like it's to go through that just because of your faith and to prove a point. That's it. Kind of, I related to that because of because of thinking of how many people go through so many painful things, and they want to live. They still want to live, and they still have to fight. They still have to move forward. It kind of made me think, like, man, I really gave her a lot of credit for that, because I started, like I said, I nowhere near torture, but I started going through what I go through, and I never been through it before, and it kind of like tests you. It kind of makes you think, like, fuck, man, you know what, like, shit, like, this sucks going through this, but what do we always do? We got to keep fighting, we got to keep moving. So I just kind of related to that, and when she said that she's gonna stay, I just kind of like said, wow, that's a lot of willpower, that's a lot of strength, mental strength, spiritual strength, and physical strength, just to endure all of that. So that's where I thought it was kind of fast. I will agree with Anthony in a way that it was kind of, to me, it kind of went through really fast. And seeing the Virgin Mary, talking with the Virgin Mary, I thought it would have been longer. But yeah, it to me, it was more for sympathetic reasons for her, but it did seem somber, like very somber, very sad. But that's what I take from it.
I feel kind of like this scene probably went through a few different passes with a few different test audiences.
Well, yeah, and I think that the reason why it would be somber is because you already know her end result. Like, it's one thing if it hadn't played out till the end, like you didn't know exactly what happened to her, but the fact that we know what ends up happening, we already know that she's going to die, and deep down she knows it in that moment too. So it's more or less, the Virgin Mary is like, if you go back, you're going to face a lot of pain and anguish, and that's a tough thing to swallow, man. If you
could die now and be in peace, or go back and die eventually and just be in the most cruciating pain of your life,
right?
To tell your story.
Right.
Didn't they have enough of a story? Seriously. But I get it.
And that's what I took from it. That's what I'm saying. Like, I was like, that's I mean, we all know it's a character, but that's willpower, because we all know, and I know there's people out there that go through way worse than I do. And I tell myself, why am I complaining when there's people going through cancer, where there's people who have no limbs, they have no arms, they can't walk, they can't talk, they can't feed themselves, they can't. That's where and her going through and willing to suffer just to maybe get a point across to say that demons do exist. That's what I got. That's what I took from it.
Yeah.
Yep.
I get what you mean too with the people. Like, I'm sorry, but
that's all right.
With the people, I think that too. Like, oh, I feel like shit, but then there's people, like you said, that were dying right now in a hospital or something, and it's like but at the same time, it's maybe I'm just not as strong as them. We're all different. I mean, we all have shit we can't face. I mean, I don't think it's good to if somebody, my daddy canceled my credit cards. I'm gonna, that's like, we all have money problems sometimes, but that, but yeah, I get what you're telling me. I think that too.
Yeah.
That's all I want to say.
Well, we get to the end, and after all the information and the testimony has been put forth, the jury comes back and they do find Father Moore guilty of negligence, but they say that they recommended to the judge that he had to get time served. I think he was facing maybe 10 years in prison at that point, but they said that, he should just have time served, which kind of throws the judge for a loop. But, interestingly enough, the judge decides to go ahead and say, okay, yeah, you're good. And, I think the prosecutor was probably a little more bummed than the judge, but
he won, but
either
he
way, yeah, it's kind of like, he was like, oh man, did I just do all this shit for nothing? Because they didn't find him guilty. That was the funniest thing, is they did find him guilty, but it's kind of like one of those cool moments, like, yeah, this guy, we don't know if he's legit or not, but he's been through hell, like, with this shit. So it's like, there's no sense in putting him in prison.
I get the sense almost the judge was just happy to have this trial out of the courtroom.
Yeah. I don't even imagine like what it'd be like to try to do something like that today. It would just be insane.
I liked the judge though. I thought at first she was like going to be a hard ass, and then she's like, "Well, I want to hear. We've had a weird kind of situation here today with what we're talking about. I want to hear something else, that might be a little crazy."
The judge was completely fair.
Yeah.
She was no nonsense. I mean, the prosecutor kept trying to pull his little shenanigans here and there, and she'd be like, "Nope, objection overruled," or objection upheld, or whatever.
Yeah.
I could imagine. I could imagine like a lot of the judges in that district really don't like that prosecutor.
Probably not.
Judge.
He also did. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, Kevin. I'm sorry, Anthony.
I could see like a judge getting up in the morning, looking at the docket, seeing the prosecutor, and just, oh, this is going to be a long day.
Oh, long trial.
And then when he was reading when he read the note and he started crying towards the end, like the priest started crying. I think that kind of moved the jury, because he's not just crying because he's doing that. He's reading a letter and he's crying while she's telling her story.
Yeah. And I think that's why, as Tony and I were saying, like, I think it would have been important to show that moment where she was writing that, because it would solidify the relationship that she had with her priest. Like, he talked about a lot of the time how they were, friends, and she was his confidant and whatever. But as he's reading it would have been nice to kind of like, okay, let's kind of like merge over to where she's writing and speaking it herself. Because then it would have been more impactful. Like, because then you really understand like the relationship they had as priest and client. But yeah, it definitely had an impact on them, and you can just see he looked worn down. Because he wanted to save her and couldn't.
Yeah.
But here's the interesting thing. So the real life story is different than what some of the stuff we saw here. So basically, Michelle died in her home. Annalise Michelle died in her home. The autopsy report stated the cause of death as malnutrition and dehydration resulting from almost a year in a state of near starvation. So this is over a year. While the rites of exorcism were performed, she weighed 66 pounds, suffered broken knees with continuous genuflections. I'm not sure what that is.
That's right.
Okay, was unable to move without assistance and was reported to have contracted pneumonia. The prosecution in 1976, the state charged Michelle's parents and priests, Ernest Alt and Arnold Renz, with negligent homicide. They were defended by so-and-so. They said the state recommended that none of the involved parties be jailed. Instead, The recommended sentence for the priest was a fine, while the prosecution concluded that parents should be exempt from punishment as they had suffered enough. So the prosecution really didn't like push them very hard either, but they wanted something done about it, because I mean, when you're watching a movie, you're thinking this happens over like just a course of a few days, but this case, the one it's based off, went like an entire year. So I can see why they would say, okay, she's not getting nutrition or anything. You might want to give her some IVs or something, or figure a way to do that, because she's basically wasting away in the bed there.
Yeah.
All right.
Wow, a year. I don't know. I think nowadays, if somebody was like that for a year, even if they had the same people in the courtroom, I don't. People look at that as negligence.
Torture almost. Really.
Yeah.
Final thoughts, Anthony.
The surprising
rating. Ghoul rating.
Ghoul ratings.
A surprisingly enjoyable movie, considering I'm not really big on possession films. There's only a small handful I like, and this is now a part of them. It balances a few different hats really well, and I'm going to go ahead and first time seeing this, it might change in the future on repeated watches, but as of right now, I'm going to give it a 10.
Okay. Sentry.
Y'all know how I thought about this film, man. Like this is one of my favorite horror films, and revisiting it just brought that shock value, but more shock, no fear, just shock value, and it keeps you guessing. It made me guess, like, man, like, is this shit real? Are fucking demons real? And I'm pretty sure, I think it's just, I don't know. I'm still in between. I do believe I am a man of God, but yeah, this film is just, it's great. She deserved more than just those small level. She deserves more than those small level awards for best actress or best new up and comer or anything like that. She was masterful as Emily Rose.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, it's up there in my top 10 of horror, sci-fi, and horror films. So I gotta give it a 10, man.
Okay,
nice,
Tony.
Well, last night when I went to watch this, I was really tired. I was just exhausted for some reason. And I said, oh, maybe I'll watch like half of it. And then I was like, oh, it's 2 hours long. I said, yeah, maybe an hour. We'll see. I watched the whole thing because I was that into it. So, yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. I'm glad I got to rewatch it. I did forget pretty much everything. And again, the verdict at the end, I didn't remember what it was.
Yeah.
So I was like, he's guilty. I was like, oh man, that sucks. And then it's like, but the jury have the thing, and then the whole that I was like, oh, it was like a good, because like it had people I liked. I didn't want to see the priest go to jail. I wanted her story to get out. It was a fantastic story, great acting from everyone. Yeah, 10 out of 10 for me, honestly. I liked it.
Should be noted too that Brunner, the defendant lawyer, was approached by her boss after winning. He was like ready to make her partner. He's like, "You keep it." She's like, "I'm not playing that game with you all." Yeah, she's like, "Fuck that." She probably went on to a different firm at that point. So I'm not dealing with that shit.
You're happy with
try to throw me under the bus.
Yeah,
that's if she knows he's going to throw her under the bus again.
Yeah. You can't trust them at all. Fuck that. But yeah, this film, when I first saw it, obviously it was because Carpenter and I'd watched Dexter, so I was very interested in what she was going to do with it. It's got great atmosphere, great directing, great actors all the way around. Sentry said Carpenter was, she was excellent on this. I don't know exactly what award she might have won or not have won from this, but she deserves something from it, at least, in my belief. She generally put on a creepy performance. I don't know what her inspiration was in terms of how she went about preparing for it, but she knew what she was doing, and it looked great on film. I can't argue with you guys. It's a 10 out of 10 for me too, without a doubt. Score
10s all around.
Yeah.
Great minds think alike.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go around and see if anybody's got stuff planned. Sentry, anything coming up on your channel now or next week or 5 years from now? Who knows?
Well, like yesterday, when we had that little conversation, random live stream with Kevin, I just said that for now, tomorrow I got that procedure done. I'm gonna get 6 shots, 3 on one side of my head, 3 on the other side of the head for the pain that I have with everything I'm going through, and then I'm gonna probably still join everyone for Space Amoeba and on Kevin's channel on
That's tonight, right?
Entertainment Headquarters.
Tomorrow.
Is it tomorrow? Oh, it's tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then as far as content, I might, depending on how I'm gonna feel, because my parents are gonna be out of town, so I'm gonna be by myself for about these 8 days, and then I talk with Anubis, probably gonna try to run Event Horizon on his channel, and because I don't know how I'm gonna be mentally, but for once I want to do like a co-show with Anubis for Event Horizon, and then I want to get plus we could get more people on there because there's a lot of people that want to get on there, and I can only have 6 people, so it'll be better. I don't have to worry about that, so we can run it. I'll just we can run Event Horizon on his channel, and as far as that, whatever Anubis has, or Anthony or Kevin, whatever they have, as far as other content for other streams or recordings, depending on if they ask me to join, I'll do my best to join. So far just that, and Event Horizon in the works. I'll get with Anubis depending on after I get all my procedures done. But that's so far, it's all I got on the channel. Oh, and video game content. That's it.
Anthony.
Well, I got a review of Godzilla versus Gigan coming up, and I'm going to do like a kind of short review because I recently watched Mississippi Burning for the first time, and I want to talk about that film. We got the Space Amoeba coming up. I definitely want the event being on the Event Horizon, and also on Entertainment Headquarters, Kevin Lambert's channel. Friday, me and Gojira851 are going to be joining forces to educate Kevin on the Mobile Suit Gundam franchise.
Nice. Tony.
Just Ghouls tonight. We're recording it, and try to get it up tonight. We'll see. If not, it'll be up like probably tomorrow morning or something.
Yeah.
But gonna review that on there. Popeye the Slayer Man.
Yeah, I gotta watch that yet.
I'm like halfway through.
Yeah. That didn't sound very exciting.
Oh, I'm not gonna talk about it now.
I hear you.
It's not bad, but it's not amazing, But
right.
Then Space Amoeba tomorrow, and that's pretty much it for now. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, tomorrow for me, I'm debuting a new podcast segment on my channel called Vintage Cult Cinema. I'm actually getting Gojira851 as my first guest, as I'm going to be doing Killing Zoe. That's going to happen at 1:00 tomorrow, same time here that we were today. It will be live, so if you want to join us and chip in and talk, you can. If not, that's okay too. Friday, as far as like closing out the week, I'll be joining Fat Samurai Guy and author Rick Myers for another episode of Action Film Autopsy. So it's pretty much all I got going on for myself. I haven't set up anything else beyond that. So, but I want to thank everybody for joining us today, especially Anthony and Sci-Fi. It's been a nice pleasure having you guys talk this film with us. And of course, my ghoul brother Tony, as always. I'll see you later tonight, of course, as we do your pick.
Yep.
And I haven't even rethought about mine, so I don't know what I'm doing next week, but we'll figure it out.
You got a few hours.
Yeah. Outside of that, man, hit the like and subscribe button, and please go and visit these gentlemen on their channels as well, and hit the like and subscribe button there. We appreciate the support at the Sci-Fi Collective, and we'll see you next time on the Metal Time Radio podcast. Take care of yourselves.
You see me before you die. Find the